I'd been a member of the Guild of One Place Studies for quite some time, but I've never found a topic to commit to. I come from North Staffordshire, and along with North Wales, it is where I am always drawn back to. Perhaps, though, it is as J.B. Priestley says, you feel that nobody comes to the potteries, and nobody except Arnold Bennett has left them. The problem when choosing a topic in the area is that many of the subjects available, like 2025 being the centenary of Stoke-on-Trent being made a city at the invitation of the King, led down rabbit holes interconnecting to other subjects.
There is many a task for the English folk, and a man's a man alway, who delves the coal and the iron ore and shapes the potter's clay. For this is the song of the Staffordshire men, in port, in kiln, in mine. Our fire shall burn and our mill wheels turn, and the knot shall be our sign.
Some years ago, the Guild had a project called Drivers of Industry. Many of the contributors chose people from various avenues of life and from various parts of the country. North Staffordshire has numerous entrepreneurs to choose from, led of course by Josiah Wedgwood. A sad fact just learned recently is that the modern factory at Barlaston is to temporarily close, an iconic name which may be lost. Wedgwood is followed closely in the long list by Sir Reginald Mitchell of Spitfire fame and Sir Anthony Bamford of JCB. Sadly, many others have investigated their locations previously. I decided that what had influenced industry in North Staffordshire is without doubt the underlying geology and topography. My article concentrated on the industries which had grown up based on the natural resources of the area. The name given to the area, being the potteries, invites investigation into some aspects of that industry. I studied the lives of children who gave testimony to the government inspector Samuel Scriven in 1841. The Gladstone Pottery Museum has an interesting history. Minton's produced pottery and tiles, and its archive is available online. However, the libraries in the area have shelves lined with books, which people have already researched on the many aspects of the pottery industry. There are associated trades, such as flint mills, which could possibly be subject. My great-grandfather worked for a flint mill. In the past, landmarks which were seen from Malcop in the north of the area on the Cheshire border, southward to Trentham, are the headgears of the mines which proliferated in the area. The coal found was perfect and unique outside of Scotland for firing the kilns in the pottery manufactories, and was exported to many parts of the country. My 2 times great-grandfather Kane died on the 7th of February 1881 in an explosion at Chatley Whitfield Colliery, which killed 24 men and boys. Whitfield was unusual, that the smithy was underground. The manager had foolishly moved it to an unsafe area. The flue overheated. Kane managed to escape initially, but the manager sent him back down to fetch the ponies, a more valuable commodity than men, and he was killed. The manager was tried for manslaughter, but found not guilty. Perhaps they thought he had suffered enough, as his son was one of those killed. 3 other of my mare ancestors died in mining accidents, so a mine would be an interesting topic.
When a miner goes down into his seam below, there's one thing for certain he does not know, and that is, will he come up again to see the sun and feel the rain? For once down there in the depths of the earth, he starts his work for what it's worth. No light from the sky, no birds to sing, only inky blackness around everything. Sometimes on his stomach he crawls, he wriggles and pushes, and often he falls. And when up above the roof caves in, he's to run for his life, but sometimes can't win. For under the rocks his body lies, broken and buried, and many times dies. He'll never again see the sun and the rain, for all of his efforts have been in vain. Perhaps he'll be found and be taken home, but perhaps he may not, and will stay in the tomb.
The third major industry was, note the past tense again, iron and steel production, the largest site being Shelton Bar. But I did not have anyone connected to that trade, and I do feel that I need some connection. There are numerous institutions and buildings which would provide interesting topics for a one-place study. While searching for the daughter of my great-grandmother, Mary Woodbine, I discovered her as a kitchen maid at the Cripples Hospital in Harts Hill. The hospital was opened in 1918. Several events and people fortuitously came together to initiate this new venture. The Potters Cripples Guild was founded in 1900 by the Duchess of Sutherland from Trentham Hall, and Trentham Hall and the Dukes of Sutherland would be another worthy topic. However, in 1907, the Duchess floated a limited company, the Duchess of Sutherland's Crippled Guild. Work produced by the pupils was sold in a shop in New Bond Street, London. The treatment at the hospital was developed rapidly by Sir Robert Jones's pioneering work on the disabilities of returning soldiers from the First World War. A lovely description was found in the local paper of how children in 1926 were ferried in a convoy of 100 cars to Alton Towers for a day out. A sight to behold in 1926, though Alton Towers was not the theme park that it is today. Another institution involving children was the Penkle Homes, a group of cottages opened in 1908 to provide a family environment for children who would otherwise have been consigned to the workhouse. I photographed the admission books up to 1924, the cut-off point for data protection. Primitive Methodism flowered in the area, and my family were staunch supporters, attending the chapel, which was regarded as the mother chapel of the Prims, Wedgwood Street, known as Jubilee. Primitive Methodism had a strong connection to Mowcott, which also has a history of its own. There's Biddulph Grange and Ford Green Hall, a half-timbered farmhouse, also wonderful examples of buildings which would warrant investigation. One place, which is a very strong contender, is the Victoria Theatre. It has two sites to investigate. The original site of the old cinema in Harts Hill, which was converted by the theatre entrepreneur Stephen Joseph. He was the son of actress Hermione Gingold and publisher Michael Joseph. Stephen toured the country in the 1950s with his Theatre in the Round productions. Newcastle-on-the-Lyme was one of his venues. A permanent home was his objective, and in 1962, the cinema in Harts Hill was converted and provided the site. Peter Cheeseman was hired as the director, and Alan Ayckbourn one of the actors. I became a volunteer in 1964, when Robert Powell, Ben Kingsley, and Chris Martin were embarking on their careers. There was soon a movement to provide a better environment for both actors and audience. An appeal eventually raised the money, and in 1986, the first purpose-built theatre in the round in Europe was opened on the Stonyfield site in Basford. On Peter's insistence, the doors were officially opened by an ordinary person, the cleaner, and local actor Freddie Jones, father of the now famous Toby Jones, gave a speech on the first night. That would be a fascinating study, as it holds a great fascination for me. With all these choices, it is very difficult to make a decision as to which topic to choose as a one-place study. I'm a member of a group of ladies called A Few Forgotten Women. We hold regular Zoom meetings and discuss many topics. Some of the group use a program called We Are XYZ to record our research, and intermittently we've used some of the meetings to discuss our progress with the program. At one such meeting, I was actually looking at the street where I was born, Stanley Street in Tunstall. In one census, there was a house where there was a number of boys. They weren't related to each other, and I didn't remember that there was a house big enough for a children's home. This was quite intriguing. It also began to dawn on me that Stanley Street actually had elements of many of the topics which are of interest to me. The right-hand side of the street was bounded by the Potteries Loop line, the Knotty, with the station situated at the bottom of the street. I used to sit on the fence at the top of the garden and collect train numbers. At the top of the street was Adams's Newfield Pottery. The bottom of the street on the left-hand side was bounded by the Memorial Gardens, Little Park as it was known. Here is a memorial to the fallen in conflicts. I discovered that my great-uncle Joseph Parr was not recorded on the monument. By liaising with the Friends of the Memorial, I was able to provide information to add to a new memorial wall, which was erected to add all the names which had been omitted. Stanley Street is not as old as the central areas of the town, and appears to have been where those who were beginning to move slowly up the social scale were settling. There were also miners living there, and looking at the old maps, the area is built over old mine workings, so more avenues to explore. Beside the topics mentioned, there is also the fact that many of my extended family live there. All in all, there is a very wide range of topics to explore in Stanley Street. So I think that Stanley Street will be my choice for my initial one-place study.